It's my pleasure to be the part of this young, energetic group. Want to learn something about it, right? Well, all of you are the final year students, final year architecture. Am I right? पक्का है ना? कोई डाउट तो नहीं है? We'll talk a lot. और आप हम अगले 1-1.5 घंटा जो भी टाइम मैडम ने दिया है उस टाइम में आप और हम बात करने वाले खूब सारी. तो इस सेशन की पहली रिक्वायरमेंट तो ये है कि इट इज two-way communication. It is not going to be a single-way communication. I go and deliver a lecture and move out. No. What is the purpose of this session? What do you want from this session?
To learn the research methodology.
Research methodology पढ़ना चाहते हैं. How to research a topic. Okay? Last bench. क्या चाहिए इस सेशन में? रिपोर्ट लिखनी आ जानी चाहिए. What's going to be the benefit out of this?
Knowledge enhancement होगा.
बहुत सारा नॉलेज तो इतना सारा होता है कि कहीं भी एनहांस करते रहो कभी एनहांस होता ही नहीं. तो टोटल डेटा ऑलवेज रिमेन्स द जीरो बिकॉज इट इज सो एब्सोल्यूट सो बिग. कितना ले लोगे? लाइफ इज 30-40 ईयर्स 50 ईयर्स वर्किंग लाइफ. 50 साल भी पढ़ते रहोगे तो नॉलेज कम नहीं होगा. So knowledge acquiring, no, it shall have some purpose to your profession. That is something that you are going to grow. Then it makes sense. Right? So what's the purpose that it may have?
Many times there are a lot of projects that we don't know about it. It could be new to us, so we have to understand how to work with it.
Projects you don't know. And so you want to know about those things. That's why. Something which is not known, you want to know, that is research. Am I right? Something which is not yet understood, I want to understood, that's research. Am I right? Something which is known to you, you want to understand and find out how it is going to happen, that is research. Am I right? So what I said, if you don't know anything, you know, try and know that, it is research. Okay? If you don't understand about how it is happening, what is happening, if you want to do that, it is research. But if you know and you understand, you want to forecast what is going to happen, that is research. Am I right? क्या नाम है आपका? निशिका. बात समझ में आ रही है? तो what you don't know. Let's take an example. What you don't know. What you don't know. Suppose that you are going to be, say, architect few years after or a year after. What is something that you don't know? Come, share your say. As I said, we need to talk a lot. The more you respond, the more you ask, better you will get. वरना तो मुझे 5-7 साइट दिखा के जाने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. बोलो.
If I don't know something, how can I answer?
I'm asking that you identify what you don't know. As far as your profession is concerned, as far as your architectural profession is concerned, what you don't know. Tell me about it. Louder?
Many buildings and designs are there.
Yeah, that is something the troublesome area. इनको ये नहीं मालूम है कि कौन कौन सी बिल्डिंग्स किसने डिजाइन करी हैं. The name of the architect that she want to know. Am I right? इसमें कौन सा रॉकेट साइंस है? वो नगर निगम में जाओ, जहां भी नक्शे पास हुए होंगे उससे पता कर लो. This is not done. ये इंफॉर्मेशन कहीं रखी हुई है, आपको निकालनी है. Right? So there are the two issues are emerging. Something that information which is stored somewhere you are retrieving. Is that research? No, this is not research. This is not research. This is data extraction. Making sense out of data is okay. That is something, the multiple ways it is to be done. So then what is research?
You have your own inferences about the data that you
This is something which is, I take out for a while. I will not answer on and not comment as of now on this particular. I will get back to you. What she said, ki who is an architect of which building, she want to know. So this is not in research. You can collect the data from somewhere and then make sense out of it. It is a straight question. Question can be answered. But the another point is there any architectural design or architectural exclusivity of Indore? Is there some information would be placed on this? Or I say further on it, the Maratha, they had ruled Indore. They created Indore. They established Indore. Is there any uniqueness in their buildings? वो आपके सर ने बोल दिया था ना हिस्टोरिक. अभी थोड़ी देर पहले उन्होंने कहा था कि history of architecture that he is interested in. So I got an idea. Why not to start with the history of architecture? Is there anybody can answer this question? What is unique about? Okay, you people are from Indore. Which of the buildings you can count upon as the historic monuments developed or built by Marathas? Can you name a few? Rajwada. Perfectly said. Okay, perfect.
Chhatris.
Very nicely said. This is your Indore, right? Chhatris and so. Temples, smaller temples. So what is unique about it? Can you find some uniqueness into that?
Yes, there are various architectural elements like courtyards, etc.
Courtyards. अब जरा यहाँ समझने का कोशिश करना है समझने की. Courtyard किसी भी building में हो सकता है. What is unique about courtyard in Marathas? Is that a question? Or having a courtyard is a question? What is different in the courtyards built by Marathas? मांडू जाइए, खूब सारे कोर्टयार्ड बने हुए हैं. जो मराठास ने कोर्टयार्ड बनाए वो भी हैं. क्या दोनों में डिफरेंस है? So this is the information which is not readily available in any of the library. And what you are doing, you are going to find it first time. So then it is, yes, it is research. So Nishika, information which is to be collected for the first time and inferred for the first time makes it research. Okay? Very clear about courtyard design, descriptions of the courtyard, various design aspects of it, uniqueness about it. Yes, now you are there in the research. But then this is something which is already existing. Okay? You went to the 5 of the buildings, 7 of the buildings, you identify the total number of the possible buildings in the Holkar regime. There is something maybe at Indore, something maybe at Mandsaur or nearby area. That's it. Out of which you select a few and then go there and then conduct a study. But these all are very well existing. Okay? Nothing new. They are existing. At the same point of time, you are an expert of architecture. You are an expert of the building design. You had studied, you had understood what are the various architectural design types or the various architectural design issues which shall be seen in a building. You know it. So then what are you doing basically? Aap gaye. You know what is architecture. You know what is architectural design. You know what are the concerns in a design aspect, right? You went there, you had seen, say this is building A. Did your kind of the parameters, place that, and then responded. This is like this. ये क्या है? Can you name this activity?
Case study.
Yes, case study is the method, but this is exploration. Basically 2 questions. What it is and where it is. If I am answering this is called as exploration, and this is the one of the type of research. This is one of the type of the research. So I defined research for you, and now I had explained you the first type of the research. Whatsoever is existing, whatsoever is really happening, I go and find out what it is. I try and define that particular thing. Then it is exploratory research. Where it is existing, if I try and do this is called as the exploratory research. Right? Further, Now the question is, the Maratha Chhatris, if you try and find, they are the small monuments. देखे आपने छत्रीस गए छतरी देखने कभी? बोलिया सरकार की छतरी पे अभी काफ़ी प्रोजेक्ट चल रहे थे, ठीक है, और भी पुरानी छतरीज हैं, देख के आए होंगे. कोई बहुत ग्रैंड स्ट्रक्चर्स नहीं है. आप में से कितने जिन्होंने हुमायूं का टोम देखा दिल्ली में? आपने देखा है? आप वहाँ जाओ तो क्या फील आता है, और छतरी पे जाओ तो वैसे ही फील आता है क्या? वो भी टॉम्ब है और ये भी छतरी है, वो भी किसी की याद में बना, ये भी किसी की याद में बनी है. तो क्या मराठाओं के पास इतना आर्किटेक्चरल एक्यूमेंट नहीं था क्या कि बड़े बिल्डिंग बना देते हैं? आता नहीं था क्या? Why it is so small? दूसरा, if you just see Humayun's tomb, they had used red sandstone. These people had used black stone. Why?
Because of availability of materials.
So the major question is, right? Why Marathas has made smaller monuments? Is there any relevance? Is there any reason for it? Yeah, very rightly said. It is the remembering of the old generation. That is the only purpose for making the chhatris. Tomb is also there for that. और कोई purpose हो सकता है क्या?
Maybe the Marathas didn't actually want grandeur, they wanted just common places that normal people could.
Well, why grandeur is required? Foreign monarch or a foreign, say, monarch, why grandeur is required?
Showcase their power.
Yes, showcase a power. So that the Marathas, जिनका ये छतरी बना हुआ है, were they monarch? No, they were the Sardars. ठीक है ना? And that is monarch. So there is a difference between them. It means that there isn't, say, architecture is having some relationship with the power of the person, the kind of the concept of the empire, kind of the concept of the statesmanship there, and the architecture is reflection of it. Do you accept? पक्का? तो अशोकन पिलर्स, they are very differently placed. आज आपके हिस्ट्री पे बात करते हैं. Ashokan pillars, how they are representing this grandeur. Ashoka is the one of the king who had ruled the complete Bharat only once in the whole of the history, and that was Ashoka. How grandeur is being reflected? How grandeur is being reflected? आपने पढ़ी नहीं हिस्ट्री नहीं पढ़ी ना, तो बोल दो ना, मैं बता दूंगा, इनका टाइम मत खराब करो. उनका पॉलिश बहुत ही यूनिक है, उनका जो आर्टिफैक्ट है वो बहुत ही यूनिक है. आपके 3 शेर, बेसिकली वो 4 शेर हैं. सारनाथ का जो से पिलर हेड है वो आपका नेशनल एम्ब्लेम है. उसमें क्या यूनिकनेस है? पत्थर पर इतनी गजब की कारीगरी. सो इट मीन्स दैट super finish of the stone is like mirror. The pillar that is being carved out as a mirror, and then a super speciality into the artifacts which is being placed on those pillars. They make that particular kind of things. So it means that it is not the grandeur of the building, but it is the perfection of the art, is also reflection of the technology and, say, the achievements of a particular empire. Can it be reflected? Can it be said like this? So architecture and the art is typically an example of the achievements of the society in terms of culture, in terms of technology. Do you agree? Do you agree? Then prove it for the 5 of the societies, and that's where the research is all about. I had given you some of the research topics. Could you make sense out of it? बात समझ में आई क्या? क्वेश्चन कैसे हुए? What and where? So this is called as exploratory research. How and why? It is called as descriptive research. This is called as descriptive research, defining why it is happening, how it is happening, a phenomenon which is existing. In that phenomenon, why it is happening something, and then in that case, how it is happening. If I want to answer these kind of issues, it is called as descriptive research. बात समझ में आ गई? पक्का? Or need some hajmola to understand and digest?
Can be descriptive and explorative research be intertwined?
Intermingled. वेरी गुड. क्या व्हाट्स योर गुड नेम? मैंने तुमको पहले भी रोका था ना, तुम्हारी बात का जवाब नहीं दिया था. हाँ, फिर रुक जाओ जरा. पलक. पल्लवी. Very nice. I'll come back. Let me take one more example and then I will talk. एक बात और, few days back I was at Delhi. In fact, I had stayed at Delhi almost say 3 years in the year 1997 to year 2000. And after that, almost it's a gap of the 20 years, I'd been again on those streets which I was there. I used to put up in say Karol Bagh area of Delhi. तो करीब 2 साल मैंने करोल बाग में रहा, 1 साल मुखर्जी नगर में रहा. तो these were the areas where I stayed. आज 20 साल बाद again I was there on those same roads, R.S. Samaj Road and those roads. But then a terrible difference had happened. This Delhi is not the same which I had been living. There were a lot many flyovers, they say roads, nicely drafted, nicely crafted roads. And above all, it was metro, which was taking everything differently, making everything differently. I'm a planner, suppose. I'm a planner. I need to understand that down the line, 20 years further after, what shall be the shape and size of that particular Karol Bagh area? Can I do it? Planning in say, अभी तक भी जो आपके यहाँ प्लानिंग होती है ये 20 इयर्स प्लान बनता है. 2007 में प्लान दिया था 2021 तक का. So it is 14 years plan, 15 years plan, 20 years plan. ऐसे प्लान बनाते हैं, टाउन प्लान. तो 20 साल बाद का क्या विजुलाइज करते हैं क्या? हाउ दैट पर्टिकुलर सिटी शैल बी. आपको पेपर में आता ना कि दैट मेट्रो इज बीइंग डिजाइन्ड फॉर द नीड्स ऑफ द 2050. अरे भाई 2050 हैव यू सीन? क्या सपना आया था क्या? आज सोचने बैठा मैं 2050 कैसा होगा ना, तो आई विल राइट ऑन इमेजिनेशन. तो फिर एक प्लानर में और एक साइंस फिक्शन लिखने वाले ऑथर में क्या फ़र्क है? ये भी तो साइंस फिक्शन हो गया. डू यू एग्री? कोई है प्लानिंग वाला यहाँ पर? एनीबडी? टाउन प्लानिंग किसी ने पढ़ा हो? किसी प्लानर को ऐसा बोल दें कि आप तो साइंटिफिक फिक्शन लिखने वाले ऑथर हैं, हाउ विल दे रिस्पॉन्ड? और ये इतने बड़े बड़े लोग यहाँ नौकरी लेके बैठे हैं, टाउन एंड कंट्री प्लानिंग डिपार्टमेंट चलाते हैं, उन सबको तो बंद कर देना चाहिए. बोले घर जाओ, कागज कलम लो, सोचना शुरू करना, शाम को भेज देना, प्लानिंग हो गया.
In terms of town planning and all of these, there is a lot of analysis on ways.
Rightly said. Very rightly said. Very rightly said. 20 years down the line, what is going to happen has to be based on some of the trends which are existing in the development in that area. Some of the realities which are required for that particular area. Some of the, say, establishment of financial functions or some kind of the social functions in that particular area. It is to be based on that. So trends are what? Trends are something, the intentions of the individuals. Trends are the intentions of the individual society, individual group of the people existing in that particular area. Right? That is what trend is. So then trend, existing a trend. Have you understood the meaning of trend? आपका fashion trend भी होता है. That you do have the one type of a trend. So there is something which is in trend. Trend is what? Accepted a particular way of thinking. That can be, say, a thought trend. What is right and what is wrong. So you have a trend of that. Per se, knowing a trend will be exploratory study. How that trend is emerging, that is descriptive study. And then what is going to be the 20 years down the line, will be a conclusive study. Will be a conclusive study. So your forecast shall be based on how the trends are changing. So that how trends are changing and coming, that you had studied here. So you know the pattern of the change of a trend in a particular society, and then you impose it on a particular city and say this is going to happen in this city down the line 20 years. So this is called as forecasting. If you do forecasting, this is based on mathematical and statistical techniques, and this is typically called as modeling. This is typically called as modeling. Is that clear? Is that clear? Each of the activity is to be known for its happening process, and the process is being written mathematically with the formulas and with the kind of programs on your computer, and a model is being created, and this research is called as modeling, and this is called as conclusive research. Right? These are the three basic types of the research. These are the three basic types of the research questions, the RQs, they need to be answered. Let it be your, say, dissertation, let it be the PhD project, or let it be any kind of research work. Is that clear? Baat samajh mein aa gayi? Now I answer your question. If these two are merged, or say these two are merged, it is called as mixed method research. It is called as mixed method research. This is a complex design of the research. You may call it as a building design that you would have seen, but this is called, it's really a very complex design of the research. So this is what is research design. Research design is listing down the steps of doing it. We call it as the research design. So we'll be talking about research design few minutes after. So I think I had answered your one question. What was your second question?
It was, I mean, like apart from intertwining as well, like,
भूल गए लिख लिया करो बात समझ में आ रही है पक्के से समझ में आ रही है और क्वेश्चंस रिस्पॉन्ड मी यस और नो पक्का यस शुगर हाँ
So it was the, for example, the exploration part. If I research on something, I've collected data on it, but I have my own inferences. I have my own ideas pertaining to that whatever data I've collected. So that would be considered as research as well.
No, your ideas will be certainly considered. But then the question will be, they need to be based on the solid footings of the analysis of data, and they need to be corroborated with the existing body of knowledge for their differences or for their similarity. 2 points I said. It need to be based on specific analysis of the data available, and they need to be corroborated with the existing body of knowledge for either contradiction or similarity. Am I right? This is called as the validity of the research. So what you need to do, you need to find out the new ideas, new solution. At the same point of time, you need to prove its validity. In that case, if the validity proven is high, everybody will give you clap. Okay, na? Now question is how to prove validity. Then you hold on. मैंने एक किताब दिया था आपको. Have you gone through? Some amongst you would have gone through. Research methodology by... No, this is not. Research methodology by Mayank Saxena. So this method, this book, after my session, this book will help you in further going deeper into it. Louder? Research methodology by Mayank Saxena, Sekran. आपकी लाइब्रेरी में है वो. सीडी सर ने मेरे को रिवर्ट किया था कि आपकी लाइब्रेरी में इट इज अवेलेबल. ठीक है? एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? Anyone who had not understood? Raise your hand. Not understood. Then I make a claim. I'm a good teacher. Nobody purchases that. Nobody accepts it. See, feel free to talk. Feel relaxed. Right? No, I found the very, very tense faces. मैं आपको कोई टेंशन की बात नहीं है, अपन यहाँ बात कर रहे हैं. Fine? Last bench. What happened? Are you okay? Sure. Okay. चलिए अपन आगे बात करते हैं. आपने अभी तक डिसर्टेशन प्लान किए हुए हैं? टॉपिक्स आ गए सबके डिसर्टेशन के? हाँ? आ गए? चलिए क्लासिफाई करिए कि वो किस तरीके के हैं. एक्सप्लोरेटरी, डिस्क्रिप्टिव और कंक्लूसिव. व्हाट काइंड ऑफ द टॉपिक्स दे आर? जो आपके खुद के टॉपिक्स हैं, वो मैंने 3 टाइप्स ऑफ रिसर्च आपसे शेयर की. उसमें वो कैसे हैं? They are descriptive, they are exploratory, or they are conclusive. क्या टॉपिक है आपका? जोर से बोलो. फाइनल नहीं हुआ तो प्री फाइनल या क्वार्टर फाइनल में बता दीजिए कौन सा है. लाउडर. 3D प्रिंटिंग तो टेक्निक है, उसमें रिसर्च क्या है और रिसर्च का टॉपिक क्या है? एनीबडी हु हैड फाइनलाइज्ड? एनीवन? यस, यू हैड फाइनलाइज्ड. लाउडर. व्हाट शी सेड? बायोफिलिंग. इसमें करोगे क्या? सी, दिस इज अगेन अ टेक्निक. What I try to give you an idea about how to frame a topic. Right? Type, side, shared. Now framing a topic. Then execution of that particular research. And that's where we will close this session. Okay? What is research? We talked about. Types of research we talked about. Understood very specifically? Now what do you want to do? क्या research करना चाहते हो? This seems very nice. So I take this. And construction techniques. Done? अब इसको पढ़ते हैं अपन. What she wanted to do. ठीक है? She says analyzing material and construction technique of the curvilinear building. 3 things. This is what exact outcome that she is representing. This is where her execution area, and this is the scope on which she is working. Scope that she is working. So title of her research shall define what activity that you are going to carry out in the parameters or the specific areas with the scope. It's good topic. ठीक है? It is good topic. लिखा उन्होंने ठीक से. Researchability क्या है वो that I can't comment on. ये आपके टीचर्स बताएंगे. That how deeper you can go into this, that your teachers will tell you. But then what shall be the title? It is appropriate. Analysis is what? Now let us talk further on it. What is analysis? So can I say that you want to understand that which material is being used? Am I right? You want to say which particular technique is used. You want to know it. Is it the question? How material impact on technique for its utility or for its outcome. This is one. Another one is which technique and which material used. Can you differentiate between these two equations? What's your good name? Risha. One is written here and another one is written here. Can you differentiate between these two?
Here we have to identify the material types and characteristics.
No. यहाँ मुझे क्या पता करना है कि मटेरियल और टेक्निक की सुटेबिलिटी कितनी है. There may be the n number of techniques, there may be the n number of materials. A material number 1 and a technique number 1, if they had applied together, is it right combination or not? This is to be identified. और यहाँ क्या पता करना है कि कर्वी लीनियर पर केस स्टडी करनी है कि जब कर्वी लीनियर बिल्डिंग्स थी तो इन्होंने मटेरियल नंबर 1 2 3 4 कौन से यूज किए और टेक्निक नंबर 1 2 3 4 कौन से यूज किए. यहाँ क्या है, सिर्फ पता करने जाना है कि that what is the number of the say the type of material 1 2 3 is being say used and which technique is used. यहाँ पर क्या करना जाना है, material and technique are they in sync? क्वेश्चन अलग अलग है. Can you differentiate it? This is called as exploratory research, this is called as descriptive research. This is called as descriptive research. It is defining a phenomenon, that is that what will be the success or what will be the chances of success and why a particular building will be successful if the material and technique are in sync. So it is defining a particular phenomenon. But in this particular one, knowing that what is there. Are you okay? Pusho.
In this case, we are already, things are already there, we are just going and knowing the things.
Yes, so exploratory.
But at the same time, they are already there, we just need to describe that what is there.
Yes, that is exploratory.
So when we are describing something, then it should be descriptive, right?
You are describing that material number 1 2 3 4 are used. Technique number 1 2 3 4 are used.
It is both descriptive as well as exploratory.
No, this is exploratory. And now I go on a deeper into it. What is the relationship between a material and technique for its suitability or for its success? I know these are the material. I know these are the techniques. Now the next question comes. Are they suitable among themselves? Or each technique is good for each material? Maybe, may not be. So this is descriptive. Understood? Well received. कोई question? Yes.
मेरा थॉट है कि अगर मैं ये चूज करूँगी कि मैं मटेरियल पास्ट से प्रेजेंट तक में कैसे चेंज होता है और टेक्निक्स कैसे चेंज होते हैं.
Exploratory. Whenever I'm trying and knowing something which is unknown, simply defining its boundaries, parameters, scope, type, etc., it is all exploratory. When I'm trying and understanding some intricacies into it, some relationships into it, some comparison to some other ones, and then defining the differences into it, it is descriptive. Descriptive will have hypothesis to be tested. Right? Exploratory will not have any hypothesis. And outcome of exploratory will be what? Say this exists. While descriptive, it will talk about many issues into it, why it exists, what are the interpretations, and so on. So descriptive is a bit complex. Okay? Any more question? ना आज मैं आपको रिवार्ड दे सकता कोई चॉकलेट वगैरह और ना ही मेरे पास कुछ आपको दंड देने के लिए है. ठीक है, तो आई वुड हैव डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड द, आई विल रिक्वेस्ट यू टू, जितने क्वेश्चन आ रहे हैं ना सर, सबको एक एक चॉकलेट दीजिएगा और जिन्होंने बिल्कुल कुछ नहीं बोला है उनका 2-2 नंबर काट दीजिएगा.
Sir, if there is topic talking about the evolution of construction techniques, so will it be descriptive or explorative?
अगर आप ये लिस्ट डाउन करने जा रहे हैं कि 1940 this was the material, 1950 this was the material, 1960 was the material, it is exploratory research. अगर आप ये डिफाइन करने जा रहे हैं कि मटेरियल का डेवलपमेंट इज बेस्ड ऑन टू द चेंज ऑफ द टेस्ट ऑफ द कंज्यूमर and that's why it forces some new materials to get developed. It is descriptive.
So descriptive is more about philosophy.
More about the reasons of happening, more about the process of happening. If I just talk about it, it is descriptive. I compare it 40s to that of 50s, how they are different. Yes, it is descriptive. What was 40s, what was 50s, it is exploratory. But now I get, when you did first that what was 40s, what was 50s, and now I just start looking differences. So I'm on descriptive. Knowing what was 40s, what was 50s is exploratory. Clear? पक्का? तो लिखो अब तुम्हारा टॉपिक को बताओ कौन सा लिखा. Very nice question. क्या नाम है तुम्हारा? रोशनी. रोशनी ने क्या सोचा कि मैंने ये भी पता कर लिया कि मटेरियल्स और टेक्निक्स में सिमिलैरिटीज कौन कौन सी हैं, ठीक है ना. अब नाउ आई स्टार्टेड डिजाइनिंग अ पर्टिकुलर बिल्डिंग. वो बिल्डिंग विल बी सक्सेस और अ फेलियर, ये पता करना है. यही क्वेश्चन है ना रोशनी? आई थिंक आई हैड हर्ड अप्रोप्रिएटली. आउटकम ऑफ दिस. और दूसरी बात यह है कि जब मैं अगर इसको बनाने जा रहा हूं तो विच पर्टिकुलर पोर्शन ऑफ दिस बिल्डिंग में फेल. सो दिस इज समथिंग विच इज टू बी फोरकास्टेड. अब इसको समझने की कोशिश करना. सपोज ये कर्वीलिनियर, मुझे मालूम नहीं कर्वीलिनियर, कोई एग्जांपल दो ना. कर्वीलिनियर बिल्डिंग होती कैसी है? हाँ, कोई इंदौर की बिल्डिंग का एग्जांपल दो. कर्वीलिनियर बिल्डिंग, crystal IT. अच्छा, it means that is the shape and so. Well, listen. It is around 15-16 story building is there, crystal IT park. अब अगर इसकी फेलियर और सक्सेस देखनी है तो दो तरफ से होगी. फर्स्ट स्ट्रक्चरल स्ट्रेंथ एंड सेकंड फंक्शंस जो वहाँ पर इम्पोज किए हुए हैं उनका सक्सेस. और भी कुछ होता हो तो उसको जोड़ लेना, पर दो लेते हैं. स्ट्रक्चर का स्ट्रेंथ in a particular area is dependent on what? Material used. That is about the kind of TMT bars or other things that you had used, designed the pillars and so. So there will be a load carrying capacity, right? The total load calculated of the building and the load carrying capacity of that particular area, I can forecast this particular beam will sustain or will be collapsed. Do you feel so? Can I do it? Strength of material पढ़ी क्या? स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ मटेरियल पढ़ी है. हमारे ज़माने में रामा मुर्दम की किताब चलती थी. आपके यहाँ कौन सी चलती है? कौन सी? अरे जोर से बोलो भाई. बाला सुब्रमण्यम. चलो जो भी चलती है. फेलियर ऑफ अ बीम इज एन मैथमेटिकल फिनोमिनन विच कैन बी रिटन डाउन इन इक्वेशन फॉर्म. Agreed? When it is going to surge, when it is going to collapse, all I can understand by a formula. If I draw out these all formulas and test it, I can forecast it is structurally suitable or not. Do you agree? Yes. This is called as forecasting. If you change the shape, load sharing on the various beams will change. Load transfer mechanism will change. Earlier it would have been one single beam carrying that particular quantity of load on the ground. But this, as you change the shape, it will redistribute amongst the various elements. What is the state of affairs for the various element total load on a various area that I can calculate? Can I do it? Can I create a computer program of it? So for that, it is my conclusive research. This is typical forecasting and that is my conclusive research. Right? एक और इसमें चीज़ होता है. आपने functions के बारे में भी बात किया. Functions are typical utilization of the building or uses of building based. कुछ चीज़ें हैं जैसे सीवरेज है या ये तो eternally truth है. It is to be like this. But then building success depends on movement of human being and the uses of human being in that building. How convenient they are in uses. अगर मान लीजिए आपका ये जो रूम है इसमें यहाँ बीच में 2-3 पिलर होते तो it would have been very difficult to talk and do it. We don't have any pillar here. So it's a appropriate users setup. Users pattern depends on human beings. So human behavior, human expectations, and then suitability with this. Can I forecast? Another kind of a conclusive research. Bus stand, what will be the movement? Can it be defined? Yes. How the people will be coming and moving out? It can be very well defined. How many people will be coming out? Very well defined. But what they will be doing? It is to be understood. Now the metro, people stay there for hours together and enjoy their time because it is air conditioned. बाहर सड़क पर गर्मी में, दिल्ली की गर्मी में घूमने के बजाय मेट्रो स्टेशन पे एक 25 रुपए का टिकट खरीदो और सिट डाउन आराम से. This is human behavior. Do this kind of studies. So that is conclusive. Okay? So I had given you the ideas here. Topics भी दिए मैंने आपको. किसी और को अपना topic discuss करना है क्या? Anybody would like to discuss their topic? Yes. Pumping systems. Plumbing systems. Different types of plumbing systems. Comparative analysis. तो आपने कितने system use किए? कितने system होते हैं plumbing के? नहीं. First case is that the system of plumbing is what? It is to be known. Secondly, how many types of plumbing systems are there? And the thirdly, what is to be compared on in that? These things to be known, and then you can do this. If you simply want to know that what are the various types of plumbing systems, it is exploratory research. What makes a plumbing system good or bad? It is descriptive research. And then the two of the systems, if compared for the good or the bad setup, then it is descriptive research. Okay? That's what. Okay. Now let us find the ways of doing it. What we talked about, that the whatsoever is being done for the first time. Yeah? Research is something for the first time. So suppose he's taken an example with the comparing the plumbing systems. Okay? How many systems of plumbing are there? Have you explored? Not yet. So this shall be your first step. As you had written, research question, your first step shall be knowing the existing body of knowledge across that RQ, whatsoever is relevant for that RQ, comparing plumbing system. Okay. If you want to compare the plumbing system, whatsoever relevant for that kind of the body of knowledge is to be explored. Right? After that, what shall be the outcome of existing body of knowledge? So outcome of existing body of knowledge shall be gaps. First is, we don't know about what are the various types of plumbing systems. This gap emerged out. We don't know about that a particular plumbing system is suitable under what condition. These all are these gaps. Gaps will emerge out from existing body of knowledge. Okay? So this is called as identifying the gaps. So this would be the outcome of step number 1, that is knowing the body of knowledge. Second outcome of this shall be methods used for research. Identifying the methods used for the research. और ये आपका पल्लवी वैलिडिटी वाला फर्स्ट इशू। लेकिन मान लीजिए, व्हाट्स योर गुड नेम? Yash. Yash has done some research, so he had used a particular method of doing it. So then whenever you are quoting it, that your method is this way or that way different, you need to take care of that, what you had been done earlier. So was that right or wrong? That is to be taken care. So this is where the validity issues, they start emerging. So the first case is identifying the gaps, various methods used. So this is here. One more thing will happen. When the gaps are available, you will be writing objectives. You will be writing objectives. अगर आपको gaps मिल गए हैं तो you will be writing objectives. It means that कि out of these gaps, how many gaps you want to fill, and the number of the gaps that you want to fill will be your objectives. ठीक है? What project you want to do?
I want to do the evolution of vernacular elements in the modern या contemporary vernacular architecture.
Come again.
Evolution of vernacular elements.
Elements means the material, or say the artifacts, or say the design of architecture. What is element?
Elements of architecture can be many aspects like columns, column grids.
Or how it is being now reflected into the contemporary architecture. ठीक है? Evolution of the elements of vernacular architecture, how they are visible in the contemporary architecture. This is what she want to study. Well, अब अगर मैं इसको देखना चाहूँ तो सबसे पहले तो elements of the architecture, this is the first that I need to know. What are the elements of architecture? This I need to know. If I need to know the elements of the architecture, this is my existing body of knowledge exploration. सादा पानी दीजिएगा. Right? Then vernacular. So I need to understand what is vernacular architecture. So this is my second relevant body of knowledge. Contemporary, third. What is contemporary architecture that I need to know? This is my third area where I need to do the literature review. Fourth, how it is being reflected. The elements are being reflected into it. So reflection, how it is to be found, is to be explored. किसी भी architectural element का reflection, how it is to be found, it is to be reflected. Am I making sense to you? ये चार चीजें हो गई relevant body of knowledge. Clear है? Further, I said, here I want to know in Indore or in Malwa, what is vernacular architecture, or what are elements of vernacular architecture. This is the first. मालवा रीजन में, इंदौर में वर्नेकुलर आर्किटेक्चर क्या है ये पता करना है. What is vernacular in sense of the architecture, that is to be known, and this is what it is there. Secondly, what are the various elements of that vernacular architecture? Identify it. Right? So this is called as the developing objectives. So I got developed two of the objectives. Third objective. In Indore, how you are going to identify the vernacular architecture, the element of the vernacular architecture reflected. How are you going to find out? You will go and survey. You are through with what is vernacular architecture. You are through with what are the various elements of the vernacular architecture. Now you want to find out how they are expressed. So you will do the survey. The survey of which buildings? Objective number 3. Okay? Survey of these things. Objective number 3. So your study has the 3 objectives like this. This is what is developing the objectives out of, say, literature review, research gaps, and topic. Topic से शुरू किए, literature review के लिए relevant body of knowledge identify किया, and then objectives written. Yes, go ahead.
Sir, you wrote survey of so and so building in the objective section. Then you said that we will be knowing the gaps, and then the gaps we will be filling with their objectives. Like on a broad aspect what we wanted to do or what we are going to do will be our objective. This survey won't be a methodology thing that उस चीज को achieve करने के लिए हम उस चीज का survey कर रहे हैं.
Survey is in method, but then for your objective will be, मैंने बहुत सारे डैश डैश करके छोड़ दिया था. Survey of the kind of buildings for understanding and expression of vernacular in architecture. ये written down होना है यहाँ पे. ठीक है? Survey is a method, but then you, in her case, what you need to go, either you write it, not the survey, you can write it here that exploring expression of architectural elements in those kind of buildings where she want to study. Scope that you need to define here. Making sense? Okay. So this is something which is the writing of objectives. This is something which is writing of objectives. You had learned two things. First, drafting the title. You had learned what is the meaning of exploration of body of knowledge. We call it as the literature review. You had learned after the literature review what would be the outcomes. The outcomes would be gaps and the methods used. Further, you had learned how to draft objectives. Clear? अब अगर objectives मिल गए तो अब क्या करें? We need to write hypothesis if required, or if the hypotheses are not required, we'll be writing research design. We'll be writing research design. हाइपोथेसिस लिखने से पहले ये समझेंगे कि ये रिसर्च क्वेश्चन में what are the various parameters I've written somewhere here. The parameters, what are the various variables and what are the various construct at use. I define three of these things. Right? Architectural element is a parameter or is an entity which exists. Right? It is not a variable. It is something architectural element, you call it as an, चलो एक नाम लो आप architectural element. It was yours ना? हाँ एक नाम लो architectural element. Windows is an architectural element. Okay, so in that case, existence of windows or not windows, this is one parameter. Windows are there. But then how many windows will turn out to be a variable? Variable which is typically changing its value over a period of time or over the another occurrence. That is what variable is all about. Clear? And then windows, do they create something? Windows are the only one thing. It is something, the aeration that we shall talk about. Why are we talking about windows? We shall talk about the circulation of air. We shall talk about the availability of sunlight inside. Why to talk about windows? We may have the open area, window may have the some other design difference for the circulation of air and the circulation of sunlight. कर सकते हैं ना? If I do it, window will be the one part of it. Window will be the one part of it. Another, it may be the open space, open area, veranda, or say some other architectural element, right? So a construct consists of multiple variables. A construct consists of multiple variables. To understand in that particular area what are the various variables, and the variables, if they join together and define a particular phenomenon, it is called as construct. When a variables join together, variables comes together and they form a particular phenomenon happening, it is called as construct. So in your research, are you talking about the variables or you are talking about the construct that shall be considered? Okay? Variable are maybe the part of a bigger entity which is called as construct. So while going ahead from here, you need to understand that how many variables are there, how many parameters are there, or how many constructs are there. So what is research? Now I define research some other way. I define research is understanding the relationship amongst the construct is research. Knowing about the number of the constructs existing is a research. Knowing about the how many variables are existing is a research. Understanding that the how variables are changing its value is the research. This is called as functional definition of research. या आप रिकॉर्ड करो ना, मेरी आवाज़ भी रिकॉर्ड हो रही होगी, या बाद में यूज़ करना, ये लिख नहीं पाओगे, ठीक है? तो research is what? Research is defining this all and then understanding the relationship amongst them, that's the research, or say differences amongst them, that's the research, or say that something defining themselves is a nothing but a research. So whenever you see a particular descriptive research, look into the variables, how many variables are existing. And what you are supposed to do there, you are supposed to find out the relationships, or you are supposed to find out existence, or you are supposed to find out the differences, what it is. But if you do answer this particular question, you will have the n number of methods, as she was talking about, surveys and method for it. You will have n number of the methods available for answering. So where we reached up to a level of, we reached a level of defining the research method and writing the hypothesis. One more point. What is a hypothesis? Hypothesis hota kya hai? Hypothesis is your assumption about a particular relationship or a particular phenomenon that is existing. Architectural element is being reflected. Now there are the few issues here that I talk about. First is expression of vernacular into a modern or say contemporary architecture. This is something which is one. ये कैसा हुआ? Exploratory हुआ. Expression हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा है. So variable is what? Element. Variable is what? Element. Number of that element existing is something that's being seen there. So this is one case. Another case is its availability in the contemporary architecture. Go and find yes or no. Available window, yes. Type older one, yes. Ho gaya. This is finished here. So this is something which is the no need of any hypothesis. There is no need under such circumstances for the hypothesis. अगर आप सिर्फ ये पता करने जा रहे हैं कि वो है या नहीं. बोलिया सरकार की छतरी, it is the kind of the dome is smaller in nature, or the chhatri, any of the chhatri, you will find the dome is of very small, to overall size is small, the elevated platform is there, black stone is being used, roof is being manufactured by the mortar, basically the lime and mortar method. This is what chhatri is all about. So this is something which is exploration. This doesn't require any kind of the hypothesis in it. Now let's see another question here. The another question is that chhatris are being built by the sardars, not by the kings. This is not sure. This is my assumption. What I said, Chhatris are small because the Sardars were there, not the kings, not the emperors. If it would have been the monument of an emperor's wife to die, also after death, not to die. It is Taj Mahal. It is Taj Mahal. If an emperor's wife died, there is a Taj Mahal. Or if a Sardar wife died, it is a Chhatri. ये किसने सिखाया? किसने सिखाया? पता नहीं. आपने बैठे बैठे यहाँ से बोला, मैंने लिख लिया. Is it true or not? Yet to be tested. It is true or not? It is to be tested. If the पेशवा dies, वो अभी वो बना करके वहाँ खड़ा कर रहे हैं रावर खेड़ी में एक नया उन्होंने प्रोजेक्ट शुरू किया कि वहाँ वो मॉन्यूमेंट बनाएंगे. पेशवा डाई होता तो उसकी तो मतलब छतरी भी नहीं बनाते. Peshwa wasn't king there. उसका मॉन्यूमेंट अब बन रहा है. ये सही हो सकता है या गलत भी हो सकता है. जो कुछ हुआ आपकी क्लास में ढूंढा, ये सारा कॉन्सेप्ट कहाँ निकाला? अभी आपके साथ बैठ के निकाला. सही है गलत ढूंढो. That is the research. This requires an hypothesis. Whenever I am not confirmed out of the say outcome of a statement, it is true or false, I need to check. If I need to check, it is an hypothesis. Whenever it is checked, it is fact. Whenever it is to be checked, it is hypothesis. So write an hypothesis. Okay? So then you need to write the hypothesis. Am I making sense? बात समझ में आ रही है? चलिए और आगे बढ़ते हैं. If the hypothesis is written, so now how many things that we had studied? Number one, it is the RQ. This is the first step. Or say title. First step. Second step, I say exploring the knowledge, for finding out the gaps and the various methods used. Third step, I said it is writing objectives. This is the third step. Okay? Third step is writing objective. Fourth step, I say writing the hypothesis. Research methodology की 4 steps आपको बता दी मैंने. Vernacular is not being reflected in the contemporary architecture. That's what. Right or wrong? I don't know. So it is an hypothesis. Okay? Plumbing system A is not useful under the circumstances given. This is what? My assumption. Prove it. After proving, I will say my hypothesis is accepted or not accepted. Okay? Now, how to write an say hypothesis and what shall be the statement of hypothesis? Read the book now. Okay, na? I just go a bit faster on it. So now you are ready with the hypothesis also. If the hypothesis is vernacular is not reflected in the contemporary. If this is the hypothesis. So I need to test. How can I test? I require some of the facts. Whenever I require some of the fact, I call it as the data. Fact can be numeric. Fact can be written document. Fact can be pic. Fact can be sound. Fact can be any other format. All this is data. This all is data. Now, which data is required? Vernacular is not reflected in contemporary. Which data is required? Create a list of the data. Create a list of the data required. Right? Create a list of the data required. Well, this is the next step. We had created the list of the data required. Next it comes, find out the sources of data, where it can be available, and then method of the collection of data. Method of the collection of data. So these are the further steps. These are the further steps that you shall focus on. Now, what are the various methods of collection data? So when now the collection of data is depending on the type of data. In general, data is being divided into the qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative and quantitative. Quantitative is which can be numerically expressed. Qualitative, which is more of the like feel, idea, such all issues. So that is qualitative. So qual and quant. Fine. Method of collection. So there are the various methods of collection. One is in questionnaire based survey. Questionnaire based survey. Another one could be observation. Observation. Right? Further, it can be social media. That's a big source now for the data, collection of data and availability of data. Twitter का इस्तेमाल करिए data collection करने में. For what? Sentiments. सबसे अच्छे express होते हैं sentiments. Nupur Sharma this way, that way. Put it up on the Twitter. You will understand what the people think about. ठीक है? So this is something which is Twitter to be used for understanding the sentiments. Observation, social methods, and so. So collection of data. As you had collected data, you will be analyzing the data. Now analyzing the data, there are the two of the issues. One is with hypothesis and another one is without hypothesis. Once again, qual and quant. अब ये थोड़ा सा एडवांस है यहाँ से नेचर. एक और बात करता हूँ, सरदार का छोटा मॉन्यूमेंट, एम्परर का बड़ा मॉन्यूमेंट, ये हाइपोथेसिस बनाया था ना आपने, तो कैसे प्रूव करेंगे? तो जाके पूछना पड़ेगा. तो जो किससे पूछेंगे? जिन लोगों ने छतरियाँ बनाई होंगी, बनवाई होंगी, उनके जो वंशज होंगे, उनके जो हिस्टोरियंस होंगे, उनसे पूछेंगे. तो उनसे ये थोड़ी पूछ सकते हैं कि कितने बड़े सरदार थे या कितना इनकी कमाई होती थी, कितना इनका रेवेन्यू आता था, कितने पढ़े लिखे थे. ऐसे क्वेश्चन थोड़ी पूछ सकते हैं. We may be asking some very of the questions which will be sense making, like what was the image of those people in the society? Why this particular monument is to be created? What is an idea about making the monuments of the dead? Is it something that's the pyramids? Pyramids is considered as an after death living space. That was the idea for pyramid. Chhatri isn't, say, remembrance or is in house of those old died people. For tomb, it is considered as a resting place for the people who died. Right? So what is an idea? So these are the kind of the questions to be asked. Can these questions be quantified? No. They will have sense only when they are not quantified. So under such kind of the things, you may have, now listen it carefully, you may have an hypothesis. Many of the people will say, no, you cannot have an hypothesis, but I'll say you can have the hypothesis. And these hypotheses to be tested by the softwares, these are called as the qualitative research and the qualitative research based softwares like NVivo. So these are the kind of the softwares which are available. Now there is a technique for making sense out of those data. वो कभी आपके साथ लंबे समय की वर्कशॉप में बात करेंगे. That what are the techniques by which a qualitative data is to be analyzed and that will make sense. Okay? So NVivo is a software. NVivo. NVivo is the software that can be deployed here. So डाउनलोड करो, 14 दिन का एक यूनिवर्सिटी एडिशन फ्री मिल जाएगा. उस पर अपना कुछ हेड क्रैक करो तो कुछ समझ में आएगा. ठीक है? क्वालिटेटिव डेटा का असेसमेंट एनालिसिस, फिर से वो किताब मैंने आपको बता रखी है, उसमें से पढ़ेंगे. यू विल हैव मोर ऑफ द अंडरस्टैंडिंग. इट्स एन वंडरफुल रिसर्च एरिया, क्वालिटेटिव रिसर्च. अनदर वन कम्स क्वांटिटेटिव. व्हेन इट इज क्वांटिटेटिव, there are the two kinds of techniques they emerges. First is statistical techniques. And second one is your modeling techniques. और इसी में आगे it is machine learning techniques. तो यहाँ से डेटा साइंस का डिप्लॉयमेंट इन रिसर्च इट बिगिन. मशीन लर्निंग टेक्निक्स. So it is statistical techniques, modeling techniques, machine learning techniques. Machine learning techniques also provide possibility of using qualitative data. So qual plus quant, somebody asked this question earlier, can we merge with these? Yes, you can, but then techniques will be machine learning based techniques. So these are the kind of further techniques which are available for testing of the hypothesis. Okay? What will be the outcome of hypothesis? Right or wrong? Right or wrong? So if it is the hypothesis is turning out right or wrong, so hypothesis will be resulted into this. That is accepted or not accepted. ठीक है ना? बोलिया सरकार की छतरी सरकार होने की वजह से छोटी नहीं है. So it is not accepted. It is small because of its conceptualization of the idea. Idea was the eternal soul merges with the eternal truth. So there is only remembrance is to be created. I'm just taking ऐसा मान लीजिए आया तो. So hypothesis is not accepted. That it is representation of the grandize of a particular empire and the power and the might of the emperor by a building. It vanishes. This is vanishes. Okay. So accepted or not accepted. There is an outcome. Now this outcome is to be inferred. Outcome is to be inferred. So interpretation. And after that, your ultimate thing is concluding on title. Concluding on title. Okay? So what we said, accepted and rejected. What? Hypothesis. Hypothesis emerges from where? From objectives. Objectives emerges from where? It emerges from, say, lit review, gaps. It emerges further from title. So these are the two things. These are the two things they gives rise to objectives, right? This, say, writing of gaps and so, literature review, gaps and so. So this is something which is objectives to emerge. Here it is, you will have literature review, right? Earlier than that, what you will be having? You will be having that particular title and research question. After the conclusion, what is to be done? After the conclusion, what is to be done? Report. Okay? And the research is finished. Report is what? Maybe a paper, maybe a project report, maybe a submitted outcome to any individual company. Clear hai? Questions? Questions? No question? अरे उन्होंने ले लिया पिक ले लिया वो आपको अवेलेबल रहेगा लाइब्रेरी में आई होप दिस वीडियो वुड बी अवेलेबल इन द लाइब्रेरी आस्क द क्वेश्चंस इफ यू हैव yes go ahead
Parameters that we talk about. I mean, what does this term literature review actually contain? All of these parameters and all of these that we talk about.
लिटरेचर रिव्यू में सबसे पहले तो आपका जो टाइटल है उसका स्कोप समझिए, ठीक है? जैसे इसने बोला कि एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ वर्नाक्युलर इन कंटेम्प्रेरी, तो आई विल से व्हाट इज वर्नाक्युलर. सेकेंड, आर्किटेक्चरल एलिमेंट. थर्ड, contemporary, what it is. Fourth, how it is to be expressed, how that particular thing is to be identified. So these 4 issues are relevant to my topic. So I need to study the existing body of knowledge on these 4 issues. So that will be comprehensive literature review. What I'll find out? Gaps. और बोलिए, questions? No. फिर लिख दें the end.
Sir, can we use both qualitative and quantitative data in the same report?
Yes, we can. And I used to prefer this. अगर आप मेरे से बात करेंगे, as a PhD or any other project, I prefer a holistic work is to be done, and that begins with the qual and being concluded with the conclusive research with the modeling. So all of the research work you will find originating from qual and going up to the conclusion, developing a model. तो मेरा तो सीधा आंसर है, this I am not a purist. ठीक है, the people will differ here on answering to this question. I mean business. So whatsoever is right for the business, I do it. Qual, quant, how it matter? मेरा काम होना चाहिए, that's important. So I'm typically not a purist. But then there are some philosophers who are purist. It is only the qualitative shall be used once. Okay. और बोलिए. Shoot, fast. Questions. या तो मैं बहुत अच्छा टीचर हूँ या मेरे स्टूडेंट सब कुछ ज्ञान रखते हैं. ठीक है, अगर मेरे स्टूडेंट सब कुछ जानते हैं तो बात खत्म, कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं होगा. और अगर वो स्टूडेंट्स हैं तो देयर मस्ट बी द क्वेश्चंस. लास्ट बेंच. या गो ऑन, क्वेश्चंस प्लीज. दिस इज द लास्ट कॉल फॉर द क्वेश्चंस. चलिए, ऑल द बेस्ट. थैंक यू.